1975, it has happened already. Happened, okay? It has happened, and now we cannot take back that one, okay? We cannot come back and then we cannot protest that in that year we cannot come and say that we should not take that one. It has already happened.
Democratic nation, and we believe in the democracy. We don't want that. You living in a democratic state, you want to be free. You want to express your view. You want to express your opinion. That is the reason why we are saying that we don't want any type of emergencies.
When we think of India, what comes to mind? Corruption. So corruption. Back in 1975, if we compare India today, India ranks at top 5 as the most corrupted state, corrupted country among the 195 countries in the world. Back then, India was even more corrupted. It listed in the top 3 of the most corrupted country in the world. Why? I'll tell you why.
Was facing widespread protests, violent economic stagnation, and a breakdown of governments. In such a situation, the government took a strong decision under the constitutional provisions under Article 352 of the Constitution of India to restore order and ensure a smooth functioning of the country. It was a tough call, but sometimes extraordinary demands extraordinary measures. So, in this context, we can say that the emergency period in India was very crucial, and that the Indira Gandhi Prime Minister had taken a crucial step in ensuring stability during the crisis, because during this emergency period happens in 1975, right after the Indo-Pakistan War, and so India was also facing poverty in the country, and so this definitely leads to a step where the Prime Minister of India take right decisions in putting the emergency period in India from 1975 to 77. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your honor, my panel of judges, my opponent, and my fellow teammates. I am here to rebuttal your view. You talk about governance. Take an example. In the year 1975, emergency took place in the year 1975. But despite the election, they extended their term 2 years. Is that a justice or not? For a person who are at opposition party, that is not a justice. And I, as a person who believe in democracy and the rule of law, I believe in democracy. And in democracy, we believe in mixed economy. And what is the reason? What is the main reason that took place the 1975 emergency? It was in the year 1974 when Indira Gandhi forcibly nationalized 14 private banks to a national bank, which is against democracy. In democracy, both private and government economy can exist. But Indira Gandhi tried to exercise the power on her own hand as a communist, in a communist form of government. So this emergency does not possess any positive impact on our society, but rather it impacts badly. Take an example. A lawyer and an author named Prashant Bhushan wrote a book called The Case That Shook India, in which he marked that the 1975 emergency was imposed only to suppress the political oppositions and the freedom of speech and expression. And in the year 1975 emergency, 1,774 innocent civilians were killed because Indira Gandhi has a complete authority over the others. Complete authority. There is no rule of law in a country. And over 8 million Indians were displaced. So I think, and I believe that this, whatever kind of emergency, does not impact anything, but rather impact positively, but rather it has a negative impact in our society. Thank you.
People had a problem with it, especially the common people. Not only the common people, such as high position opponents such as the Jayaprakash Narayan, Atal Bihar Vayat, and Atal Bihar Vayat, L.K. Advan, under the deacon of HISA, was all arrested under saying that it was all under the category of HISA. Not only that, even the media was pressed, but even for the common people not able to express themselves.
Good morning, everyone. I stand in support of the emergency period of India, but not against the democracy. But I want to say that it was very much necessary at that period in order to come up with this emergency. As India at the moment was facing a very critical internal crisis, like that of the 1974 railway strike and the JP movement. So the government, when the rights come with responsibilities, and when the responsibilities is not met, the government had to come up with had to act vigilantly and firmly. The emergency period, indeed, it was not. The government did not come up arbitrarily, but constitutionally based on the Article 350.
And let us not forget the horrifying human acts, human cost, especially the forced sterilization campaign led by Sanjay Gandhi, where millions of poor people, especially from the minority, were forcibly sterilized. They were blackmailed, beaten, and operated on without consent. Slums were demolished, and millions of people were left on the streets without any compensation. So no, the emergency was not justified. It was not a necessary step. It was a violation of trust, of democracy, and of every principle our nation was built on. And let me tell you how the people responded in the 1977 elections. They voted Indira Gandhi out of power. That was India's way of saying never again. Thank you.
While the issue of emergency power may have been controversial, it has some severe advantages too. During the emergency, Indira Gandhi announced the 20-point program. The government announced the 20-point program that benefit the different section of the people, included saving on agricultural land, distribution of land among landless laborers, abolition of rural indebtedness, and benefits to students through regulation of mass charge and reduction in prices of books, stationery, etc. And hence, once again, Indira Gandhi proved that she is the benefactor of the weaker, peasants, and the poor people. Can also as well add that it was not only to take advantage of the people, but following the oil crisis in 1973, the government was really sincere about reviving the country's economy. However, just then, the oppositional party launched the Bihar and Gujarat movement with the sole purpose of overthrowing the democratically elected government. Hence, it was one of the reasons they adopted the emergency power. Thank you.
I can mention that it's already 4 years since the war has happened. Then, if the country was really going through an economic crisis and poverty, then why not declare emergency during that time? And while in 1975, when Allahabad court found Indira Gandhi guilty of these electoral malpractices, when she was declared the one, within 13 days time, she declared emergency. And then, if we look at the when the Indo-Pakistan war took place, it was almost like 4 years, 1,460 days. So why did not she mention that she declared the emergency during that period? And then, if you also remember the 1991. The economic crisis that India faced, it was one of the worst economic crises, yet the government didn't suspend constitutions or fail abolish. They solved it with a poll reform. The leaders solved the crisis with courage and bold decision, not with censorship, chill, or silencing the opponents. The inflation rate, if we talk about the inflation rate, during the 1975, the inflation rate was just 9 to 10%. But during 1975, the inflation rate was over 13%, and which even went up to 16%.
The proposition thing, first of all, I'd like to highlight to all the proposition and the against thing that the emergency in India, there are 3 emergency that was declared in India, not only one, which all of us are focusing on 1975. But there are 3 emergency declarations in India. So, first of all, what is emergency? Emergency is something unexpected and often requiring immediate action. So, emergency in India brought significant changes to the constitution at that time. The first emergency was declared in 1962, October 26, as an external aggression. Chinese troops launched a full-scale invasion into Indian territory. The second, 1971 Indo-Pakistan War, the second emergency, which was a stark reminder of fragility or weakness of a democratic institution under authoritarian rule and pressure. The third, which was declared under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, Indian government had increased powers, including the ability to control media, censor information, and detain individuals without trial. The emergency includes a decisive military victory for all the nations, a boost to national pride and unity. It presented a necessary to quell internal unrest and maintain order. It was declared in response to perceived threats to security of the nation. The emergency enabled the government to act strictly and decisively to manage crises over the country, such as war, external aggression, etc. It enables the government to safeguard nation's security, unity. It prevents chaos and preserving the constitutional order of the country. It allows government to protect sovereignty, unity, and integrity of the nation. And I want the opposition party to keep this in mind, that there can be an emergency, there can be a declaration of emergency through internal disturbance and also external aggression. You are focusing too much on the external aggression, and their emergency can be declared on internal disturbance. The emergency brought India to a better stage. Too much. Thanks so much.
On the very topic, the emergency period in India. As the opposition, the emergency, I would say, is a constitutional catastrophe, the darkest period in the history of India. Well, in the quest for stability, the government has sacrificed the very principles of democracy that defined our nation. And while some argue that the emergency is needed to maintain stability, I strongly oppose it. My question to them is stability needed in the cost of freedom? Is stability worth the cost of freedom? And moreover, it was a draconian steps that affected civil liberties, prompted the ban of many organizations like the RSS, and also led to the misuse of power, mass media, and press censorship. Moreover, further, it also led to the slum clearances and other economic policies. What if these slum clearances and other economic policies have impacted the vulnerable ones?
Well, democracy isn't just about elections, it's also about governance. When chaos reigns, even a democratic elected leader must take tough calls, isn't it? And then my opposition also says that press censorship violated free speech. Well, according to me, the media could have gone even worse. Irresponsible media could have incited more violence, and stability required controlled information flow. And she also talks about forced sterilization being implemented. Well, according to me, excesses happened, but they weren't the core purposes. The focus was on national stability, not individual policies. And on my closing remarks, I would like to say that the emergency was a bitter pill, of course, but necessary to save India from disintegration. Would we prefer a chaotic, democratic, or stable nation? Think about that. Sometimes strong medicine is needed to heal a sick patient, and India in 1975 was critically ill. Thank you.
Sisters, as you know, India, when we think of India, what comes to mind? Corruption. So corruption. Back in 1975, if we compare India today, India ranks at top 5 as the most corrupted state, corrupted country among the 195 countries in the world. Back then, India was even more corrupted. It listed in the top 3 of the most corrupted country in the world. Why? I'll tell you why. During the emergency period, all the communal organizations, as you have mentioned, the RSS, the Anand Mart, the Jamati, these corrupted leaders Anand Jamati Islami, and CPML were banned. Why they were banned? Because they were the violent leaders leading these aggressions. Do you know why corruption has increased and why the common people are affected? Black market goods, and services. If you think about it, just think about all the black market goods. India being a corrupted country, these violent leaders were in support of these black market goods. Why the economy was not rising? Black market goods. If you bring political issues, economy always comes forward. Why? Because money is needed to run a country. And I strongly support Indira Gandhi since she also launched this 20-point program, the DPPP, as you know it. So, if you compare it, as they have mentioned, the common people suffer. Who are the common people? The violators of the laws. All those black market smugglers, the goods. They are smuggling the goods which are needed for the people. Think about it. All those poor people, all those poor families. And as they've mentioned, the media was suppressed. Why the media was suppressed? People may not know this, but research has found out that some of the medias, they were an asset to those corrupted leaders. So Indira Gandhi could not take a chance. And it was not a national response to crisis. If it was not a response to national crisis, why did they? Right? Why did they launch this 20-point program? Because it led to the increase to the economy, and it was mainly focused on the poor section of the society. All those backward people. And we can compare this crisis of 1975 with our Nagaland, our dear Nagaland. Just think about it. Corrupted leaders hoarding our goods which are needed. I say this emergency was seriously needed. And I would like to also add, freedom was not taken from them. Instead, privileges were given to them. Access to better life, education, and jobs. Mainly for the middle class people. Not only for the middle class, but also for those underprivileged people. So brothers and sisters, think about it. If an individual tries to write, what's wrong? Would that be considered offensive to the people violating the rules? Think about it. Thank you.
A perfectly normal period where fundamental rights just decided to take a 21-month nap, right? But who needs them, right? When you just have, when you are achieving such a disciplined progress, right? Or am I just missing something right here? Anyways, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I stand here to strongly argue against the motion that the emergency period in India was unjustified. You know, the emergency period in India was considered as one of the darkest and saddest periods in Indian history, or to be specific, the independent India, and should never be forgotten. You know, the people's rights were taken away, the people were tortured, their homes were shattered, their voices were shot, and the very fabric of trust was torn apart. And families lived in fear, not for the external enemies, but for their own government. And 50 years back, if the media were not completely censored, I don't think the so-called dynastic Indira Gandhi Congress Party would not have existed today. And you know, the lakhs of people who protested against it, with opposition leaders like Jaya Prakash Narayan and L.K. Advani and Moraji Desai, they were all tortured, they were all punished and put to jail without trial, and the media were completely censored. And you know, to make the matter worse, Sanjay Gandhi just popped out of nowhere. Right? He was like surprised, not anything like that. But he just, though he was not holding no official government position, became an extra constitutional center of power. He abused the power during national emergency and even led controversial programs like for sterilization. And Sanjay Gandhi aggressive sterilization drive in 1976 forcibly sterilized approximately 6.2 million men, leading to the violation of massive human rights abuse, which made the people suffer a lot, especially the poor people, and which was against the law of the violation, which the people who have no official government position could not give order. And you know, it's such a sad and chilling thought of how fragile our freedoms truly are, and how swiftly they can be stripped away just in the name of order. And you know, the common people, the poor people have to just suffer it. And so I want to impose a question to my opponent. Can you defend silencing the opposition in line with Article 19 of the Indian Constitution 1? Thank you.
One of the darkest period of democracy, but it was, I feel like, according to me, it was very much needed because, like, as our opponents and as everyone have said, there was so much political turmoil, and then both politically, socially, and economically. So I feel like, in my opinion, the emergency was okay. The restoration of public order and discipline. There was like, with the help of emergency in 1975.
like since as India.
With the absence of Article 31, the state has no right to take away the humanity of the people without any concern of the law. So, good morning everyone. My name is Boila. I am on the opposition side of the emergency. As my oppositions have mentioned, the emergency was a good thing, but I don't think so. Why was the emergency not good? That's why I would ask. Emergency did not bring the whole state of India to a better place, as some of them has mentioned. The positive aspects of it were just short-lived. Right after the emergency, the inflation rate before the emergency was high, and during the emergency it has gone lower. Yes, I would say that it has gone lower. But after the emergency, we would see that the inflation rate has risen again. Therefore, the economic stability. Economic was not very stable even after the emergency, so it has little to no impact. So, would you justify that by using would you justify that you're using emergency as a tool to create peace within India when there was mass sterilization of the people? Yes, many of the men and women were sterilized. They were made infertile. So, in the name of population control, why is that so? Why can't we use education instead as a measure of population control instead of sterilization, which was not done through the will, it was done forcefully? With that, I conclude my statement. Thank you.
Everyone, so I on behalf of motion, I want to speak on for the opposed team regarding two main topics, which is the brutal mass sterilization and regarding the 14 private commercial banks which was nationalized. So, though Sanjay Gandhi made a mass sterilization program, he did so to reduce the population growth of the country. It is said that during the emergency, the trains were always on time. Everyone was punctual and the business ran efficiently. Everyone was punctual and business ran efficiently. The people living through the emergency had also lived through the year preceding it. So obviously the emergency was declared and all the protests and movements were stopped, but there were no strikes. And the trains were on time. And the industries work efficiently as well. This is the reason why some industrialists like J.R.D. Tata gave positive comments regarding the emergency, though he changed his mind later. And regarding the 14 national centralized commercial banks, I want to speak on this topic. The Congress decided that 14 private banks would be nationalized. It means that the government would take ownership of those banks from the private ownership of banks from the private companies.
Could be happened through re-election. My friend from motion team, let's all be clear that the emergency period was not a political decision. It was a betrayal to the Constitution, a betrayal clearly seen in Article 21, the very right to life and personal liberty. It's clearly seen that it was Indira Gandhi's fault. But she chose dictatorship instead of democracy. So my friend from motion team, let's all be clear that we are living in a democratic country. Thank you.
Emergency was not necessary. Yet, in 1975, it has happened already. Okay? It has happened, and now we cannot take back that one. Okay? We cannot come back and then we cannot protest that in that year. We cannot come and say that we should not take that one. It has already happened. So Indira Gandhi ministership, she decided, and it has happened. It is gone. Now, if we come and say this, it should not happen. Should think about, just study about it. What is happening around your mind, among your brain? So we need to have at least a wise, isn't it? A wise thing. So, in order to conclude, the emergency period, though it was controversial, must be viewed in the context of its time. So we cannot view it in today's time, it should be viewed during that time. That time it was very crucial. So it was faced with political instability because the opposition party, they could not win it. So they were opposing and they were taking advantage of that, the democracy, but the people, the right to freedom is also there, but they are already misusing that the right to freedom also. So it is the right of the government to take necessary steps under Article 352 of the Constitution of India. So it is not any extra thing, it is legal and it is written in the Constitution. So you can go back and then you can see once again, research it, and then you can have a good time together with that also. So economic stagnation was there, and internal threats was there. So in order to maintain the order and also to protect the democratic framework from in order to let that it's not collapse, key reforms such as the family planning that Sanjay Gandhi which you are saying, the Sanjay Gandhi, he has to take the right decision for family planning. Even today, till today, the population control is happening, and if that was not started, our resources, everything will be vanished. If that the population control was not started, our resources could have vanished, and what will we be having it today? So think about it in that also. And also disciplines in administration was also can, and also definitely the key reforms is the family planning, the anti-corruption that we are talking, and the disciplines in administration that left a lasting impact on the country till today. So the emergency was a response to extra circumstances. Thank you.
So as he has stated, it was as the Article 32 was taken as an action for the people itself. But if it was for the people, then why is it seen as an internal disturbance when it was purely based as a personal crisis of the people of the party itself? And my opponent itself has stated it was for the student, for the benefit of the student. If it was for the benefit of the students, then why were she listening to the people? Why were they banned from even protesting against her? Why wouldn't she even listen to the students or for the people itself? And the voice of the people were heard, then how can you see that it was for the people itself? Thirdly, media was banned with the ban of the media, common people were blocked from the information, and the medias which were available were all approved by the government, which means it was all corrupted, and the information that was being given to the people may not be the right one, since it was being governed by the government itself. And lastly, it is the fundamental rights were suspended, and if it was for the people, then why were the fundamental rights being suspended, the civil liberty being curtailed, and only allowing for the government to rule degrees, suspension of election, which means with the suspension of the election, they want to rule just with that thing. And freedom of the press was curtailed, and many opposition leaders were even jailed. If it was for the people, then why wouldn't there be election, and why wouldn't they even stand for themselves if it was for the people?
All the emergencies brought India till date, so far, everything happens for a reason. So, as some of our friends say, Article 19.1, the freedom of speech and expression was the absence of freedom of speech and expression in 1975. So, I hope you know that if emergency was declared, there can be a suspense of freedom of speech, freedom of personal rights, and etc. The first emergency I like to highlight again. There were three emergencies declared in India. First emergency, 1962, for the security, for sovereignty, unity, and to save the nation from the conflict from the neighboring countries. The second emergency, which led to the crackdown on dissent and worker rights, nation's victory. And third, 1975 emergency, it was to quell internal unrest and maintain order. I hope the opposition party that you have been studying or researching for an hour or minutes last night, I'm sure. And then I'm sure you all know that in Manipur, emergency was declared, and if emergency was declared, there can be absence of speech, freedom of personal rights, etc. Thank you.
You just said that if the nation declares emergency, the freedom of speech and expression and personal life were to be suspended. Yes, those were to be suspended. That is the crux point we are discussing today. We as a democratic nation, and we believe in the democracy, we don't want that. You living in a democratic state, you want to be free. You want to express your view. You want to express your opinion. That is the reason why we are saying that we don't want any type of emergencies. We don't want any type of emergencies to be imposed upon us. Because even during emergencies, we want to exercise our democratic rights. That is my answer.
The government was deciding on the dictatorship. While leadership was questioned, the nation's interests were not compromised. Later on, after the emergency, re-election was conducted and stability was restored. So this shows that the government focused on democracy and not dictatorship. And I also mentioned this before, but I would like to mention this again. We must not confuse the leadership with authoritarianism. Thank you.